Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Segal SE15361. This is Segal's single cylinder deadbolt, brushed brass finish they call it, bronze. It's closer to brass, of course, than bronze. Classic surface mount deadbolt. This is the one that you see installed after decades of use, still working like the day they were put in. This model is nice because it comes with both the angle strike and the flat strike. Okay. Again, classic sort of design you're going to see on the inside of apartment doors, etc. A lot of people will install them new because they're trusted, they're tried and true. People will install these on basement doors that lead out of the exterior of a home upstairs. They're very effective at keeping the door closed because of their design. A basement door like that doesn't have a lot of exposure to people being able to see it, generally out of sight, so you want a better lock than average than you might otherwise have. Vertical sort of deadbolt design. So let's go over the constituent parts and then we're going to talk about installation. You'll get a lock body. Okay, classic sort of single cylinder design lock body. You can get this with a double cylinder as well. Key on the inside should you need that. Then, like I said before, you'll get the angle strike and a flat strike. Angle strike is typical for an in-swinging door, which is most common for a residential application. A flat strike you can use on an out-swinging door. I've installed these on steel doors where a customer wanted a Segal type lock and used a flat strike for an exterior door that swung out. So one of those strike, one of each. You will get the cylinder for the outside. Segal cylinder with a Segal keyway, standard SE keyway. Nice smooth construction, smooth operation. Okay. They can be rekeyed should you need that. They do come in other keyways, specifically Schlage C can be ordered from Segal. You will get then the hardware that you need to attach everything. The plate that will help you hold the cylinder on from the outside. You will get a cylinder collar, and then you will get screws. Lots of screws, actually. We'll go over that all in a moment. And then lastly, you'll get your instruction booklet. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the instructions, and there is a link below this video to them, which is what I'm going to be referring to. I've installed these locks plenty of times, and they are, again, preferred by people that have come to trust and rely on them, are comfortable with them, and desire them to either be installed on a new door or just installed to replace an old one, is the bottom line. So the link to the instructions is going to show us step one, where you have, I forgot that I would actually need this template, or the instructions. You're going to have in your instruction packet the template itself. Okay? And you're going to attach that to the door. Either this one or this one, depending on the hand. Doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. You can't flip it over like I just did. That's a correction. You're going to use this template as it's shown for right-hand doors, this template as it's shown for left-hand doors, and that is because the cylinder hole is not symmetrical, both vertically or horizontally. So you're going to get that placed on the door, and basically what I would do is I would cut that out, well, as they indicate to cut it out, and the line, the dash line in the vertical dash line indicates fold this line, fold on this line, and a line to the edge of the door. So this is literally going to be the edge of the door, and that is being considered for an in-swinging application, where you're mounting it obviously on the inside. Okay? If you have a different application, like an out-swinging door, you're going to have to treat that differently. These instructions do not provide for the provision of an out-swing door where you're mounting it on the push side, even though that can certainly be done. Just to talk about that, if you're going to mount it on a door that swings out, the way that I've done it in the past is I simply get my flat strike installed onto the frame. You can see that those holes aren't symmetrical. in the edge of the strike. So you're going to want to make sure that you get that lined up to where everything is perfectly working in this orientation. This will go onto the stop of the frame, okay, and that door is going to swing out like this. I install this first. I get my lock body held onto the door so that I know that it lines up really well. I'll use a very long, small nail set that I have to go through the holes to mark my holes, and it's helpful to have somebody actually hold that on the door for you as you go through the holes and just tap them like a center punch would be, and then you'll have your holes marked, and that's how I've done it in the past, without the benefit of having a template to do it. Okay, now moving forward. You've got your template, you're going to cut it out, you'll apply it to the door, masking tape, and then the same concept. Take your center punch and mark 5 holes. You've got the 4 holes that are drawn there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you've got the hole for the cylinder. And I would get my template applied. I'd mark all 5 holes, and I would remove it. Then I would know where I'm, what position I'm in terms of where to drill for the lock. So step 1. Cut the appropriate installation template and tape it to the inside of the door at the desired height of the lock. What's the desired height of the lock? 48 inch off the floor is typical. To the center line is a common size. There's no hard and fast rule. You might want to place the lock vertically on the door to suit your specific needs or conditions. You might want to take into account a window that you might have in the door and maybe adjust it accordingly to keep that sort of thing from happening. You might want to lower it on a door. You might have, grandma might be extremely short like mine, and prefer to have it a little bit lower. You might want to have it up at the top of the door for whatever reason might suit you. You might install it on the inside only without a cylinder. You might put one at the top. I've had people put 3 of these on doors and use them on safe rooms as well, where they've got them in multiple places. So where you install it vertically is of course your decision as it suits your needs. Step 1 is to tape the template to the door. Step 2 is to mark the holes as we've discussed. Moving to step 3, they want you to drill the 1 3/8" diameter hole through the door. Take care to ensure that the drill is level and the hole is straight through the door. Tip, bore the hole to the point of the tip, inserting through the opposite side of the door, boring out from the other side. So here's what all of that means. They're assuming you're going to use a hole saw. They're saying the hole's got to be straight. And the reason that it has to be straight is if the hole is not straight, you'll have trouble with the lock operating correctly. Meaning, when I take my key and I rotate this tailpiece needs to be laser beam straight. Otherwise, it's not going to operate the lock correctly when you insert it into the back of the lock. Okay? Hole's got to be straight. You're going to want to be sure that it's really straight. Sometimes it's helpful if you don't do a lot of work with tools, to have somebody stand there with you and help you make sure, standing back, that it's going in straight. Generally not a big problem. The other concept about coming around to the other side of the door, when you're taking your hole saw and you're drilling through, as soon as your pilot bit breaches the other side, stop, reverse, pull your hole saw out, clean it out, any core that's inside of the hole saw, go to the other side of the door and then finish the hole off. And as soon as you breach through that hole, you'll know if you've drilled it straight because you'll feel the drill bit. Step 4 is to pre-drill the 4 holes for the screws that are going to hold the lock body on. You definitely want to do that. You don't want to try to take these really long screws and run them these really long screws. So, okay, you've got these 4 screws, and then you've got some exceptionally long screws. The shorter of the 2 are for the lock body. The 3-inch screws are going to be for your angle strike, which we'll talk about in a moment. You're going to want to pre-drill your hole. They're saying that you need 1/8 of an inch for that. Okay. 1/8 of an inch. I did jump a bit premature, although it's okay at this point to go back. The beginning of the instructions at the top indicate not only the tools that you need, but we're going to end up touching on all of that as we go through this. but there is a table by which you will adjust the length of the tailpiece and the length of the two breakaway screws that will hold the rim cylinder on according to your application. So, looking at the break-off tailpiece table, most commonly you're going to have an 1 3/4 door. Okay, you're going to break that off at the B point. Looking at the template, the B point is the middle line. Okay, that's easy. Don't take pliers and break it. You're going to want to be real careful to hold it straight and carefully cut it with a hacksaw. You don't want to make that tailpiece anything other than straight. Same thing with the screws. Now, for an 1 3/4 door, they want you to break the screws off at the Y point, referring to here. The Y point is right here. You've got a groove here and a groove here. So the point of this is that this Segal lock can go to doors that are 2 1/4 inch thick, actually 2 3/8, per the table. So that's why they come out this way, where you can go from really skinny doors, 1 inch doors, all the way to 2 3/8 doors. So that preparation will need to be done. I generally do it not before I need them. But anyway, moving to step 5, we've already done that, which is the second page of the instructions that we're looking at. Pardon me, yeah, the second of 3 pages. They show pliers on the end of that. I wouldn't do that. I would cut it carefully. Then, moving to step 6. Slip the cylinder collar, which is this, onto your cylinder. Insert that through the door. Your plate is going to go onto the inside, and then through those 2 holes, you can see where it lines up there, is where you'll insert your breakaway screws. And that is the assembly that's going to hold the cylinder onto the back side of the door. And that is, in essence, step 6. Slip the cylinder collar over the cylinder and insert the cylinder into the bottom from the exterior. Position the keyhole at the bottom of the lock with the Segal trademark at the top. Hold cylinder in place. Okay, so they're saying, you know, needs to look like that regardless of the hand of the door. Step 7 is what we had just discussed, getting that plate installed, the 2 screws. It says position steel back plate on the inside of the door. Insert the 2 connecting screws into the holes adjacent to the large hole in the center of the back plate and thread them into the holes in the back of the cylinder using a screwdriver, etc., etc., etc. Now, you're going to want to make sure that that's level, because at that point, it will be, it's going to look like this. So you don't want your plate cocked because you don't want it to interfere with those holes that you've already pre-drilled. That's moving on to step 8. So step 8 is with the deadbolt in the unlocked position, push and hold the shutter guard and the shutter guard is this item here. I'm actually not quite sure why they want that pushed in at this point. Let's take a look. With the deadbolt in the unlocked position, push and hold in the shutter guard and place the lock case over the back plate on the inside of the door. Make sure the tailpiece, oh, okay, that's the point. So, forgive me. I forgot that the cylinder's already attached. What that means is you've got your cylinder sticking through the door and your tailpiece is coming out. When you get the lock put over the back plate, you need to push in the shutter guard so that the tailpiece goes into the proper hole. Okay, that's why. Into the hole in the back of the plate as exposed by opening the shutter guard. Now, step 9, holding the lock in place, operate the lock from both the inside and the outside to ensure smooth operation. You're going to make sure everything works really nice, meaning the key operates the cylinder, the bolt smoothly and accurately. The inside thumb turn works as well. If binding is encountered, recheck the thickness of the door, recheck the length of the tailpiece, and retrim if necessary. Make sure everything's level. Meaning, if this tailpiece is too long, it will bottom out in the inside of the lock and not turn correctly. Moving to step 10, using the 4 2-inch screws, which are in this case, and a screwdriver attach the deadbolt to the inside of the door using the 4 small mounting holes drilled earlier. Now, step 11 is where you're going to attach the strike. So assuming that you are dealing with an in-swinging door, as we've been saying, generally the angle strike is what is used, but not always. You basically have to get the door closed. You have to get the strike positioned onto the frame and make it flush, chiseling all of that area out so that you have a proper installation that's going to generally look like this. Okay. Depending on, forgive me, I had that upside down. Depending on your application, it's going to look like this or like this is the bottom line. The instructions show the flat strike being installed, but the angle strike is really, I think, what you should use, and here's why. So you get the lock body attached to the face of the door. You're going to mark where your strike is going to be positioned, and then chisel it so that it's flat. Now, the point is, you've got 2 holes here, but the jamb is thin in this. Perspective. The real business end of what's going to hold it on are those long screws that are going to run back here into your stud. That's reinforcing everything. Those real long screws. The short ones are what you're going to use when you are going to breach through wood or whatever it might be by using screws that are too long. The concept is that you've got your lock body installed like this. From the outside perspective, you've got these screws running all the way back into the stud structure. That's what really goes a long way to making the Segal lock preferred, because it incorporates the ability to securely fasten the strike not only to the frame, but to the reinforcing behind it. Kicking a door in is, not the most difficult thing in the world, but when you're enlisting the structural integrity of the studs behind that and the wall itself, goes a long way to being able to help not only resist break-in from attack, but years and years and years of prolonged use, slamming of the door, pushing on it when it's locked, etc. The same condition goes for the flat strike. Okay, there's been instances where it's not been mortised. There have been instances when it is. At this point, it's really just a line it up and mark it sort of application, okay, and make it work. Your condition may or may not call for it to be mortised. I generally see it surface mounted. Nice little drawing down here showing what the jamb looks like when it's mortised, cut out, which is also on the bottom of the 3rd page of the installation instructions. Shows that very accurately. At this point, you've basically used all of the screws, not all of them, but you may have used all of the screws that you've got, or a lot of them. You'll have some extras as the bottom line. Depending on which strike that you use, you'll have some laying around. Segal has this lock available in different finishes, single and double cylinder, with or without one strike, or only with one, or with both. Different colors. You can get some of them in chrome. They've indicated oil rub bronze to be available, although at the time of this video it's not, etc. A very trusted lock, tried and true. I've seen these installed after decades of use. They work like the day they were put in. So, if you have any questions on the Segal SE15361 single cylinder deadbolt with angle and flat strikes and a brush brass, or any Segal lock, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.